It's been a busy few days.
It's been very busy.
Let's focus on the funding round first. Where do you deploy that capital? What really injects the growth for the business?
We're really stepping up alongside Guardians in the Space Force. The Space Force budget in FY27 is expected to be $72 billion. That tells you a lot about the kinds of capabilities the United States Space Force needs to build to counter China and Russia. We are investing in the staff and the products and the infrastructure that's necessary to come alongside Guardians to build combat capability for space warfare.
Let's talk about your products. What makes you unique, distinct, and additive to the others? Because it's ferocious out there in the world of defense tech. It's a really hot space.
So I served 10 years in the Air Force and then transitioned into the United States Space Force. And what I saw from the defense industrial base is a focus on dual-use technologies. And there's good reason for that. But because space is now a warfighting domain, it's very clear that the operational concepts for space warfare necessitate dedicated space warfighting systems. They have a completely different performance envelope than commercial capabilities. They're quite literally going to get shot at. And so our focus is on clean sheet design to deploy operational concepts into the domain. So Jackal, for example, our first product is a clean sheet space-to-space engagement platform. It's not designed to do anything else other than protection and surveillance of the domain.
Evan, we're very excited about this domain, right? Space as a warfighting domain, the technology you're doing, but I'm going to try and bring it back down to earth a little bit for the Bloomberg Tech audience. So Jackal, you mentioned, it's a highly maneuverable vehicle. It moves around other satellites in orbit. Explain the basics of that, right? Our audience are tuning in and going, okay, so space is a warfighting domain. You make vehicles that are in space and it moves around other satellites. Take it from there.
That's right. Our adversaries deploy into orbits that we don't necessarily have capabilities in. For example, geosynchronous orbit, which is 22,000 miles from the surface of the Earth, is a long way for a ground-based telescope to be able to really characterize what our adversaries are doing. So we need systems that have the maneuverability, the fuel, the acceleration to be able to chase those targets down and take pictures of them. The foundation of combat capability is intelligence, and so the first order of business is to really understand what our adversaries are up to in space, and Jackal is purpose-built to go after highly maneuverable targets.
Evan, who's the counterpart to True Anomaly? Does China have a company or a competence in the same domain that you think about?
China doesn't have necessarily a company that's focused on space warfighting, but their entire military-industrial complex is blended with their commercial manufacturing infrastructure. So everything that China does, really for civil or for commercial, has military applications, and we're starting to see that particularly in their intelligence platforms. China, over the last several years, has deployed about 1,300 spacecraft into low Earth orbit. About 500 of those are intelligence platforms. Those intelligence platforms are designed to track terrestrial forces, so maritime forces, aviation systems, and ground capabilities. So it's very difficult for the United States to maneuver globally without China seeing where we're going.
Let's talk about the United States a bit, because you build exclusively, from what I understand, for the United States government. Will that expand? Will there be others that you want to serve here?
Right now, we focus on the United States because that's where the problem is, and also where there are substantial budgets focused on space superiority. But we're starting to see our allies build the rhetoric and build the policy to support space warfighting. The UK, France, Japan in particular are really leaning forward into space warfighting. They have their own dependencies on space capabilities, but the budgets need to follow. We are happy to partner with our allies, but the budgets are really not following, and there's a focus on nationalized capabilities.
The budgets have been there, but some would still say perhaps the spending on smaller companies by the Pentagon still somehow needs to be shown a little bit more. Are you really confident that the spending will be there for you? I mean, already you've been announced on Friday to be part of Golden Dome.
There is a shift in the way that the Defense Department, or rather the Department of War, is acquiring systems. And it really biases and creates an opening towards new companies like True Anomaly. They're focused on firm fixed price contracts, capital partnerships, long-term contracts that allow for a rational ROI. And that's an opening for True Anomaly to step into that gap and deliver capabilities. And we're truly unique in the marketplace. I mean, space warfighting is one of the most rapidly growing areas of investment for the Department of War. $40 billion this year in spending, $72 billion this year, $20 billion of which is in space control. It's the highest growth market, and we're stepping in.